Really, thank you. I was always the guy behind the guy, so I appreciate that. In 1982, I traveled to Dallas, Texas to attend a gay leadership conference with Chuck Renslow. I'd known of Chuck from the Metropolitan Coalition and some early political gatherings, but I didn't really know Chuck, at least not in the biblical sense. And it was while I was in Dallas that Chuck described his family to me and asked me if I'd come home to meet them. When I arrived, I met David and Gary and Vince, and I never went home again. I literally just stayed because I was home. And 35 years later, this is still my home, and still my family. So over those 35 years, there's a number of people that have come and gone. And as you can imagine, so did a number of pets. And while it would be hard to single out any of the people, besides the sheer number, they each brought something very unique to the Renslow family. But the pets, the dogs in particular, well, that's different. There were two dogs in particular which stood out. Lady, a little beige Cocker Spaniel, and Ashley, my marvelous golden retriever. Both had unique traits. Both had unique personalities. They were able to convince each and every member of the family and a good number of our guests that they were your dog, that they belonged only to you. And they managed to convey total loyalty and undivided, unconditional love directly to each one of us. Chuck Renslow shared that trait. And whether you came into his life for one day or you were with him for 35 years, there was never a doubt that he was there primarily for you. And there were literally hundreds of yous. If you asked Chuck how he could handle all this, he would tell you that in his head there were these little cubicles. And he had the ability to open one door and deal with that issue or that person, and then close that door before opening one for someone else. Chuck was truly an amazing man. Not like he didn't have any flaws. Chuck could be a son of a bitch to live with. And there was never any doubt who was boss. But you kind of knew that before you signed on. Chuck had a really big heart, which suffered from a unique condition which often caused it to drop from his chest and lodge itself into his male appendage. Often taking its brain with it. And those times could really piss off those of us that were closest to him. But now, as I look back at my life with him, I can appreciate Chuck's insatiable sexual appetite had an incredible benefit. Because while some of his boys got tired and moved on, and some got in trouble and moved out, and some just crashed and burned, every once in a while, really special ones stayed. And over 35 years, the family that I joined in 1982 grew and grew and grew. Chuck continued to grow his family regardless of where in his body his heart was lodged. And sometimes women arrived, a few times a child, there was at least one who thought he was a computer. And most recently, there were several pups. And each time that the family experienced a growth spurt, my life became richer. I remember sitting with David Crooms one night in the library of our home on Beacon Street, and we were contemplating the people who identified with the Renslow family, and David noted how that when two flames come together, the combined light is brighter than the two standing alone. And that what happened with the Renslow family was very similar. With the arrival of each new member, the light of the family just kept getting brighter and brighter and attracting more. Some came with their own light shining very brightly, and some came nearly extinguished, only to burst back into flames and grow even brighter. Albert Schweitzer once said that in everyone's life at some time our inner flame goes out, but that if you're lucky, if you're really lucky, it bursts back into flame by an encounter with another human being. And that we should all be thankful for those people who rekindle the inner spirit. And for those of us in the Renslow family, I would add that we should all be thankful for our lives touched Chuck's. That night in the library with David, we considered how the family's light was attracting more and more people like moths to a flame, and how, like moths, some flew directly into the light and burned up, and others moved on to other lights, and how some went into orbit and stayed circling, effectively lending their own light to ours, making it even brighter. Some stayed very, very close in tight orbit with the light, and some further out. And some went into elliptical orbit, sometime coming very, very close and then disappearing for a time before returning to the light again. By a show of hands, how many of the people in the room tonight consider themselves part of the Renslow family? Here's the thing about this family. Chuck couldn't make you a member. He could bring you home and introduce you to everyone, maybe even move you into one of the rooms, but that didn't make you part of the family. Only you could decide that this was your family. And only you could make the commitment in your heart. And likewise, no one could kick you out. Even if your orbit took you far, far away, you were the only one who could decide never to come back. There are people in the room tonight who've been gone a long time. There are some that stayed away because they didn't think they belonged anymore. And while I speak for the family tonight, I want to tell you all, just don't go. The true love of Chuck's life, his soulmate, was Don Berchutis, the artist ATM. They had reached a stage in their relationship where other people may have broken up, but instead they conceived of something new. They conceived of a family. And instead of leaving with someone else, they brought someone else in. And then there was Patrick and Cliff, and eventually Dom met Bob Youngke, who's here in the room with us tonight. And Chuck met David Crooms, who's also here tonight. And then Chuck met Gary, and Chuck met Vince, and Chuck met Hill. And eventually I came along. And we raised David's son, John. And then we raised my kids, Patrick and Robert, who are here tonight. And well, the rest, they say, it's history. And after Chuck passed, I spent 3 solid weeks fielding calls and emails and texts and messages, and for the first time I really realized how vast Chuck's relationships were. I heard from family members and old friends. I heard from some really soul-searching messages from people that I didn't even know. But they all knew Chuck, and like my own, he changed their lives. It's not going to be the same without Chuck. It's hard to even think of him as gone. But if you knew Chuck well enough, if you knew his spiritual beliefs, maybe his occult beliefs, then you know that he's not really gone. Neither matter nor energy can be created or destroyed, but merely transformed from one state to another. And the energy from Chuck's life force remains. It remains in each of us and each of the people whose lives he touched and transformed. I urge you to embrace that energy, treasure it, share it, and make his energy live in your own hearts. Believe in inclusion rather than exclusion. Believe in possibility rather than failure. See and believe in the worth of what may at first appear to be the worthless. And ultimately believe in 3 things: faith, hope, and charity. By your attendance at this final white party, you each become part of the history which is Chuck Renslow. You each have the opportunity to become part of this family and contribute your light to the greater force. So as a family, please join me in raising your hands again together as we commend the soul of Chuck Renslow into the hands of the great architect of the universe. Until we meet again, old friend, may God keep you in peace, and may we keep the fragrance of your memory bright green and flourish in our own hearts. So mote it be. And now, as Chuck would say, on with the show.